Om Shang No Mitra Shang Varunah Shang No Bhavattaryama Shang Na Indro Brihaspatihi Shang No Vishnu Rurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tameva Pratakshang Brahmasi Tvameva Pratakshang Brahma Vadishyami Ritang Vadishyami Satyang Vadishyami Tanmamavatu Tadvaktaramavatu Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram Om Shanti 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 Hari Om.
I now request Maharaj to please start the class. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Yes. Welcome to everyone. Today we are continuing the series of talks on the famous book for Seekers of God. It is the conversation that Swami Shivanandaji had with many devotees, prompted many devotees to write down what he said on such meeting days. So those collection of his talks are put in one book form, and one Vimokshananda Maharaj from Seattle, USA, he wrote it down, and that book we are now reading. So I would ask Prithvish to start from page 13, where we stopped before the next question came.
Pranam Maharaj, and I will start from where we left last. The devotee asks, can one take his name always, as for instance while walking? Swami responds, certainly, japa is not bound by temporal considerations. You can repeat his name whenever you find time. While walking, repeat it mentally. You cannot then count the repetition on your fingers or rosary without being conspicuous. The repetition of the Lord's name must be practiced very secretly so that no one knows anything about it. Practice constant recollection and contemplation of God. One has to form the habit. Remember and think of Him continually while walking, eating, lying down, and even when you are actively busy. Let it be as if an undercurrent is all the time flowing. If you practice in this manner for a while, remembrance and contemplation of Him will go on unconsciously within you. You will be repeating His name even while asleep. Devotee asks, it is so hard to control the mind. Sometimes when I am telling my beads, uttering His name orally, my mind wanders here and there, indulging in ideas I never before thought of. The Swami responds, that is true. The rascal mind causes all the trouble. You must control this mind or it will take you here and there. However, sincere efforts will bring self-control. When disciplined, this wicked mind behaves right. It functions as the Guru, repeats his name, guides the aspirant along righteous ways and gives him inspiration in noble undertakings. Practice self-control constantly, pray sincerely to the Lord and discriminate between the real and the unreal. My child, self-control cannot be accomplished in a day. Rightly has the Lord said in the Gita, doubtless, O mighty armed, the mind is restless and difficult to control. But, O son of Kunti, through practice and dispassion it can be conquered. Practice, continual practice and discrimination are what is needed. God alone is the one eternal substance, the abiding reality. It is necessary to be fully convinced of this in one's heart. As the conversation progressed, Swami Shivananda gradually became indrawn. Very soon He fell silent, with eyes closed in meditation. After remaining a while, one by one, the devotees started leaving for devotions in the chapel or on the bank of the Ganga.
Thank you, Pritesh. This chapter or the portion of this book, that is number 4, is now complete. Last time, when we had the readings from for Seekers of God, we had quite a long discussion about japa and how the japa happens automatically, etc. we discussed. And now the devotee who is listening to Swami Shivananji Maharaj is asking another question today. That is what we have read. Can one take his name always? As for instance, while walking, he is asking. So, while walking, so when you are walking, that means that is one of the bodily activity that is made by the individual. So there are many types of bodily activities we do every day. In Gita, as very beautifully it is said in chapter 5, verse, I think it is 8 and 9, it is very beautifully put. Pashyan, Shrinvan, Sprishan, Jigran, Ashnan, Unmishan. Like that, there are so many activities of the body are mentioned there. That means when you see, then it's a moving, hearing, seeing, hearing, touching, and then smelling, moving, sleeping, breathing, and then speaking, excreting also, then grasping and opening or closing the eyes. All these activities are mentioned in the Gita for the individual body. So the physical body takes up many types of activities the whole day. And all these activities are going on at that time where the mind should be kept. That is the question. The mind should be kept on God. If you are a devotee, a bhakti yogi, then you will say that the mind should be kept on God. If you are a jnana yogi, then what you would say? You read Upanishads, you read Gita, and you think that who I am, the search is going on within you. Then if you are a jnana yogi, then you think that I am that undiminished, that indestructible, that is the Atman. I am the Atman. Here in 5th chapter, Sri Krishna says about the jnana yogi, how he does everything. So for bhakti or yogi also, the same thing applies. Only thing, his mind, instead of dwelling upon the concept that I am God, I am Brahman, or I am Atman, his mind dwells on a personal God. Personal God means God with name and form. Nama Rupa, as we say. When Nama Rupa is put on God, is impersonated on God, then that God becomes personal God. If you remove the Nama and Rupa, then what is that is called? That is called impersonal God in English. So in English we use the two terms, personal and impersonal. Personal means I know what is the form of that God. I know what is his name. I know how to call upon him. I know how to do archana to him. I know how to go around him several times. I know how to feed him. I know how to do arati to him. This is personal God. But in impersonal God, no such activities are mentioned. No such things that you mentioned. Then how does he worship the impersonal God? That is a great subject, How to worship, how to do the worship in impersonal, if impersonal God is worshipped. So there is no question of worship at all. In impersonal God, when you realize that God is beyond name and form, which name you will choose to call him? No name need to be chosen. And which form you will take when you know that he is formless? So no form is to be taken. So in that case, how do you worship? No, the question itself is wrong, because the worship comes only in Bhakti Yoga. In Jnana Yoga, you don't need to say, how do you worship? Rather, how do you remember your real nature? That should be the question. So the question itself changes, you see. How do you worship a impersonal God is a wrong question. How do you remember the nature, impersonal nature is the correct question. So in personal God, you can definitely ask, how do you worship? Because worship comes, it goes with the personal God. So here Swami Shivananda says to the question whether one can remember him while walking, he says, certainly. He gives a stamp of approval by telling certainly. And then he says, japa is not bound by temporal considerations. That's a very beautiful way it has been put. The temporal considerations. What are the temporal considerations? Can anyone tell me what Swami Shivananda means by temporal considerations, and doing japa is not bound by such temporal considerations?
Time and place, Maharaj.
Huh?
Time and place. Constraints of time and place. Where we are.
One of the temporal consideration.
Number, Maharaj.
Yes, I am there. Yes. Next.
Number, Maharaj.
Number of counting. I should count for 108 times. Like that. That counting, it doesn't come into that. That is also a temporal consideration. Another type of temporal considerations, we all know very well. After taking bath only, we have to do japa. So like this. So these are all called temporal considerations. So he says, japa can be done with temporal considerations. He is not objecting. Don't take the other way, the meaning. Swami Shivananda is all for temporal considerations. You have temporal, he himself used to follow all such temporal considerations. When he came to South India, he was taken to temples. You know, South Indian temples, you'll find when you enter, you have a big bell will be there, the temple bell. So when you enter, you have to ring that bell. Just strike with your palm and the bell will give a sound. And people say, now bell is, I am getting the bell sound in my phone also. So the bell is playing. So when the bell is played, they say, the God who is present in the Garbhagraha, in the sanctum sanctorum, listens to the bell sound and he watches you that you are entering. So he is very happy. My bhakta has come to me. So to inform the God that I am entering, or taking his permission to enter his abode. You know, you don't enter into anybody's house just like that. We are not supposed to enter. You have to stand outside, knock the door, and then ask for permission to enter. If the person opens the door and says, please come in, then only you go inside. Otherwise, simply because the door is open, you cannot enter anybody's home. The same thing is there for the God's abode also. God's abode is a temple, and when you enter the temple, you are supposed to take the permission of God. Because it's a personal God, all sorts of our day-to-day relationships, rules will work. That you have to mind. You may simply should not ask me a question that does not God know that who is entering? That question is avantar. As in Bengali we say, avantar, it is unwarranted. Because you are worshipping a personal God, all relationship rules of personal God must be applicable. If you worship impersonal God, yes, you can say, God knows everything, you don't need to have permission or anything, you can just walk in. Yes. But here it is not so. So the bell is wrong. Shivananda Maharaj used to ring the bell. So the brahmachari who was walking with him, he asked Maharaj, for your stature, for your level of spiritual evolution, is it necessary for you to do such simple matters like ringing the bell and then taking the arati, putting on your head? Is it all required? He asked in a very innocently, perhaps. So Shivananda Maharaj answers him, don't think so. Whenever you enter a temple, the culture and the activities that are traditionally coming up should be kept up. You should not go beyond that. So he advises him. Suppose you go to Ayyappan temple. Ayyappan temple is very famous in southern India. And people have 46 days, 48 days, they have upas and they have certain rules, regulations. They put on the black clothes and they don't cut their hair or their nails, fingernails. They don't cut. And so it's absolutely a very tapasvic life is led for so many days. And then they walk, taking Tirumudi on their head, they walk. So these are the rules meant for that temple. Suppose you decide to go to Ayyappa temple in Kerala and you cannot just rushing. No, that is wrong. That is what he says. Every temple, when you enter the temple, it has got its own tradition. Those traditions have to be kept up. Is it not? Do we not keep up tradition of Belur Math pilgrimage? You see, when we go to Belur Math also, we keep up the tradition of Belur Math. We sit for the evening arati, we go for the morning, Suprabhatam, morning, Mangal Arati. Like that we keep up the tradition. So the tradition has to be followed everywhere. That's what he says, that so the temporal considerations are all okay. But know for certain that performance of japa, that japa activity is not bound by them. That's what you must understand. Then only the mind becomes clarity. Otherwise, when you are getting to these temporal considerations, you are bound by that and your whole life is shrunk into those temporal considerations. But as you evolve in spiritual life, these temporal considerations are not going to help you. You can definitely break them. As automatically you will break it. So he says, you can repeat his name whenever you find time. It is something great. Suppose the class is over now at 6 o'clock or so, and then you have some 10 minutes time to open your YouTube and put on Chennai Arati. Many devotees are doing it. Every day they put on the Chennai Arati, into their TV, and then they listen to that. Arati is going on in Chennai Mat, but in their home they can see that. So the Arati is, and we have got a camera just before Sri Ramakrishna in the altar, and that is taking the entire Arati. So everybody is doing that. Some people have their own personal choice of choosing a center. In Bangalore center, I have seen thousands of people during Arati time. There are already 300 people are sitting in the shrine, but thousands more are listening to Arati song, seeing Arati view in their television or in their phone at that time. Because you can see the number of people attending in YouTube. It goes in K, 1K, 1.3K, like that it goes. Only for Arati. So people have got different choices and they do accordingly. So anytime, suppose before Arati you get 10 minutes time, can you sit there at the time and do the japa? Not necessarily. The japa has to be done only at a particular fixed time. Yes, fixed time japa is much more important as in the initial stage. But the very fact that we are reading for Seekers of God book shows that we are not in the initial stage. We have come very far from that, from the initial. So we are now advanced stage we have entered. That's why these ideas, though they may be very revolutionary for those people who are at the initial stages, but for us, they are not revolutionary. We accept these ideas. Because Guru has told, twice you have to do japa, so you do that. Now you can repeat his name whenever you find time. And he says, while walking, repeat it mentally, because japa is having 3 types of performance. What are the 3 types? I have told many places. Anyone can remember? 3 types of japa.
Vaikari, Upamsu, and is that the one? The third one I don't remember.
Yes, correct. You told correctly. Vaikari, Upanshu.
Maharaj, Ajapa?
Batik.
Manas Japa.
Manashika, yes. Who told Manashika? Somebody told. Okay. So Vaikari or Vachik. Vaikari is a very technical term and simple term is Vachika. So a Vachika, Manasika, and in between there is a system called Upanshu. So he is asking us to repeat it mentally. That means Manashika. Not Upanshu, not Vachika. So Vachika means boldly, outside. You tell loudly. So that another person can hear. That is called Vachika. Upanshu is you are murmuring. You are not allowing another to understand what you are murmuring. Say Om Namo Narayana. Suppose you are telling that mantra, you say Om like that. So you don't, other person doesn't know what you are telling. That words are not audible. But you are telling the japa. So in Belmat, during my training center, I met one Swamiji, a very funny Swamiji, very elderly person, above 80, and he used to place pakwash for Aarti. So I always love to tell this incident. And he used to play pakwash, and I used to sit next to him and looking at his hands, how he plays pakwash, and what a nada, the sound that comes from that pakwash for the Aarti song. This Aarti song tune given by Swami Vivekananda is not like that ordinary tunes, the melodies. They are all based on classical Hindustani ragas. So naturally, the pakwash gives very good support for the song. That's why people get sooning to this Aarti song. When Khandana Bhavabandhana goes on, and then when Namo Namo comes, the tala picks up. And then it is such a wonderful thing to hear that. Because pakwash gives, and tabla you may play, but tabla doesn't give you that gambhira, that majestic sound. While pakwash gives that majestic sound. Tabla is somewhat a little brother, so it doesn't give that type of sound. It is good for melodies of smaller types of ragas. But pakwash is for classical music. So naturally, that pakwash he plays to play. And I used to sit next to him and watch his fingers, how it plays. I was so fascinated by his. So I used to come, and he used to come out from his room. We go together, come to temple. And once I heard something he was telling. And then I looked at his mouth. He's murmuring something I could follow, but I could not hear what it is. Then I asked him, Maharaj, what you are murmuring? I cannot hear you anything. Then the Swami said, don't you know there is a method called Upanshu Japa? I said, Hari, I heard it long back from someone, but today I am seeing a person who is practicing this Upanshu Japa method. And then he used to come. The funny part of that story is that whenever the sum comes, in Tala, that is called sum. So when Khandana Bhavabandhana, Jagavandhana, when Ja comes, there is a sum comes. So like that, every 16 matras it goes around. So it gives one sum. Those who play tabla, they know. So at exactly the sum comes, he would beat his what do you call this?
Pakwash.
Thigh.
Thigh.
Beat his thigh. Instead of playing on the mridangam, he would beat on his thigh. So some days I noticed it. I asked Maharaj, why do you beat your thigh upon? And instead of playing on the tabla, on the mridangam, then he said, these mosquitoes are troubling me. So I kill the mosquitoes like that. Whenever one mosquito is gone, because they are troubling me, he used to say. So that is funny apart. So the thing is, the Upanshu method, you can use it if somebody is with you and your mind is not fully concentrated. But when you are sitting alone, when you are sitting in your puja room, then Upanshu is not required. You have to go on for mentally. Because Swami Vivekananda says in the introduction to Raja Yoga that mental japa is the highest form of doing japa. He clearly says, when he is explaining about Om, A, U, Ma, these three letters he explains what is Om. In that he says, mental japa is the highest form of japa. So when you are walking, why you should shout? You don't need to say outside. You do mentally, that is. But then you cannot count at that time the repetition repetition of mantra is japa. So the counting also is one of the temporal consideration in the language of Swami Shivanand. Because you are counting. The counting is also temporal. Can you do japa without counting? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. So when you are walking, it is definitely possible. So counting is not needed. It is not required. I used to ask people, when they ask me, Swamiji, we have to do 10,000 japas. So unless I count, how I will know that I have done 10,000? I said, okay, you have done 10,000 japa or 9,980 japa, or you have done 10,102 japa. To whom you are going to submit this account? They ask the devotee. Then the devotee get, something, this question I never thought about. Because whom you are going to give your accounts? Auditor is there to see how many times you have counted. The counting is only required only when you have a sankalpa. When you take sankalpa, 10,000 times I will do for 48 days, or 10,000 times I will do japa of Durga mantra during the Navaratri days from day 1 to day 10. Like that, if you take sankalpa, then only counting is required. Otherwise, counting is not required at all. You don't need to worry about counting at all. Whenever you get time, just do the japa. The Lord's name must be practiced secretly, he says. So mentally is the best way. So now, why it should be form a habit? The question always comes. And he says, while walking, eating, lying down, and even when you are actively busy, remember and think of Lord. So this you should make it a habit, he says. Then only it will flow as an undercurrent. That's a very beautiful word. This undercurrent, somebody told ajapa, that word they used, that japa is nothing but japa being done undercurrent. Not even consciously. You are not even conscious that japa is going on. How do you know the japa is going on, that I am not conscious? When you get up from the sleep, you must watch your mind. Is the japa mantra is being recited inside the mind? Then you have reached the stage of ajapa japa, a stage where mind need not be willfully brought to do japa. In other times what we do, we willfully bring the mind to do japa. Because mind is going hither and thither. So we have to combine all the mind, and then we are doing the mind. So bringing to one focus point and do the japa. That is willfully you are instructing your mind. But in ajapa japa, there is no willful instruction. So that is what he says. Repeating his name, he says, if you do even like that, then unconsciously within you the japa will be going on. You will be repeating his name even while asleep, he says. What a beautiful statement. This is what we are hankering for. Even when I am asleep, I am lying on the bed and sleeping, at that time my mind should do the japa. Why it should do the japa even at the time when I am sleeping? It is because my mind becomes completely having no outside activities, because my 5 sense organs are not going out because I am sleeping. In sleeping time, my sense organs are not going out. But in sleeping time, when my senses are not going out, mind is still active. That activity may bring out certain ideas, certain thoughts that are not even thought of during the daytime, during my willful time. So those things, those evil thoughts or the sinful thoughts have to be cleared. And this japa going into unconscious mind and purifying the mind, that is why it is very necessary. Yes, Pranam Babu?
Maharaj, I would like to ask, like you said, during sleep, even if the japa is going on, how do I know this consciously that yes, I'm doing the japa? Because I'm sleeping. So how do I know that yes, the japa is going on, japa is not going on. So
Yes.
as soon as I get up, yes, remembrance is definitely there, but not. But you mentioned during sleep, so that's why I asked.
Yes, during sleep, that's why the willful part is not there. Now your mind is awakened, then only the willful part comes, is it not? So when the mind is asleep, there is no willful part. Now without the willful part, the mind is able to do japa when during the conscious stage, our mind is almost all the time contemplating on the Lord, doing the japa. Then only that can happen during the sleep. So during the sleep, you will not come to know you are doing japa because you are asleep, obviously. But what is the test of that? It was acting during your sleep. The test is when you get up, what thought comes. That is the best way of knowing.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. It gives me the hint. Yeah, thank you.
So that is how he said. Now he says another very important that devotee is asking, you have told me about japa, but very hard to control the mind. And even when telling my beads, he says, is uttering his name orally, vachika. My mind wanders here and there. It is indulging in ideas I never before thought of. That is a very, a terrible affair with the people. I have seen people coming to us asking, Maharaji, today I came to the temple. I sat there for half an hour, and during my conscious period, while I am outside in the world, such ideas never came to me. But when I am sitting in the temple, which is considered as a pure, holy place, and sitting there, my mind is thinking such ideas, such thoughts are assailing me. How bad it is. Like that they say, yes, it does happen. It does happen. And Swamiji says, it is true. Just like Krishna told Arjuna, when Arjuna said that, I cannot control my mind, this is vayoriva sudushkaram. The mind control, you say, is very difficult. It is as difficult as to catch the air, the wind that is blowing. How can you catch the wind that is blowing? You cannot catch. It is as difficult as it is. Immediately, Sri Krishna did not tell him, you are a useless fellow. You cannot do this much also. Like that he didn't tell him. He says, being with the Lord, Krishna says, yes, Arjuna, I fully agree with you, he says. Giving him that hope. Yes, it is definitely. It is Vayoriva Sudushkaram is correct. But then it is possible to bring the mind under control. Like that is it. So that is what here our Swami Shivanandaji Maharaj quotes. That he says that, you see, this is what we have to think of. And what Arjuna says to Krishna in chapter 6, verse 34. He says, Chanchalam hi mana Krishna. Hey Krishna, manaha is chanchalam hi. That he word is very important in this. He means indeed, verily. We use in English these words. Indeed. Indeed, the mind is chanchalam. Mind is restless. Pramati balavadridam. And it is strong. And pramati, it is obstinate. It won't listen to me. It says, I won't listen to you. That type of mind is there. And it is balavadridam. It is very, very strong. It says, hey Krishna, tasyaham nigraham manye. It says, you are asking me to control it. I consider it is very, very difficult to control. He says, how it is? It is equivalent to controlling the wind, he says. And for that, Sri Krishna says, what a beautifully he says, the answer. He says, asamshayam mahabaho. The next verse he says, 6th chapter, verse 35. Asamshayam, he says, undoubtedly. Samshaya means doubt. You have samshaya rakshasa. Swami Vivekananda says about the mind. In this present age, what is the rakshasa? You don't get Rakshasa of the Puranic Rakshasa in the modern world. Your own mind is a Rakshasa. So Samshaya Rakshasa, he says, our own mind is a Rakshasa. So he says, Ashamshayam, there is no doubt at all. In one word, undoubtedly, yes, Mahabahu. He addresses Arjuna, you have become weak. When you say you cannot control your mind, how can I call you Mahabahu, the great warrior, full of strength on your bahu, on your shoulders, strong shoulders you have? How can I call you strong-shouldered one? But Sri Krishna calls him to raise in him that, inspire him to understand that he is capable of controlling the mind. You see how beautifully Krishna puts it, the words, you can understand. If you read it thoroughly, then that idea strike you. Otherwise, he could have called Arjuna when Arjuna said that I am unable to control and it is not possible to control, he says. At that time, you are a weakling, he should have told. But he did not say that. He says, you are Mahabahu, you are a great man. And you say that it cannot be controlled. So that strikes Arjuna. Oh yes, mind can be controlled. And you said that what you say is correct, asamshayam, no doubt. But it can be controlled by two means. One is abhyasa and another is vairagya. So these two things he says, and Swami Shivananda Maharaj, here he clearly says to us that two verses he quotes. Rightly has the Lord said in the Gita, after quoting that sentence he said, as the conversation progressed slowly, Shivananda became indrawn. You know, when sometimes you are talking to somebody and you feel, and your mind goes indrawn and you go to sleep like stage, where whatever people are talking, I am not hearing. In Itanagar, when 3-4 Swamis used to come to my room, and it was about night 11 o'clock, and tomorrow there's going to be some problem is there in the hospital that has to be resolved. So all of them at that time only they took upon, and then they came into my room and sat, and I am lying down and trying to sleep. And that sleep slowly is coming on my eyes, and then they are all talking, and 10 minutes over, then they understand that I have slept away. Then they will shake me out. Hey, did you hear what he said? I said, nothing I heard, I said. So when the sleep comes, that is what happened. That sleep-like stage, when he has become indrawn, you don't listen anything from outside. That is why this antar-yogam, we call it, going inside. Many devotees ask us, Maharaj, why this antar-yogam? Why should I practice antar-yogam in the ashram? Because the mind has to be taken in. In means when the mind is indrawn, the mind will not go through the 5 sense organs outside. That is the best way that Antaryogam makes you. Recently I attended in Chengalpet Ashram, Japa Yagya. It is one of the wonderful 5 days, and devotees were sitting and sitting and sitting and doing japa. And each one has to complete minimum 20,000 times in a day. Just imagine, 20,000 times a day we have to do japa. So that is how they practice. 5 days they practice. Because it is not possible to do 20,000 in your home. Because lots and lots of things are there to be worked out in the home. So you come away. Separately, 5 days you come away. And you don't need to worry about food, about your clothing, about your staying, and anything. You just come to the temple, sit there and do your japa. That's all. In between, for change, that we are giving, say 1 hour, half an hour talk, half an hour bhajan, half an hour reading, half an hour discussion. These things are added. But the rest of the time, only japa. So I have seen very seriously those who are interested in doing japa, they only come. You don't get 600, 700 people sitting for japa again. You may get people like that for Antaryogam, because Antaryogam consists of different types of activities. But in Japa Yagya, no such different types of activities, only 2 or 3 activities. So, people who are seriously interested in doing Japa, they only come. So, the number is always less. This time, I had some 42 people only. And then a small group, so I could meet everyone individually, I could talk to them individually and know them also. So it is very nice, small group comes. In Yelagiri, when we do Antaryogam, we get even as small as group as 6 persons, mind you. 6 persons also is enough for us. We start that Antaryogam. So that's how we do. Smaller group is always better for us. So here, why I'm telling you, when mind becomes indrawn, outside things are not available to the mind. So mind closes one by one. So very soon he felt silent and eyes closed in meditation. What a beautiful way of description. It all happens to us also. When you sit in the temple and your mind is going inside, you can feel that how your mind has come indrawn and outside things are not available to you. And that's how this chapter is over. So it is already 40 minutes over. Instead of going to the chapter 5, we can have some discussions. Any observations, not necessarily questions, but you can give your thoughts also. That the thing that we discussed now.
Maharaj, do you think Ajapa job is possible even while listening to this session?
Even while?
Listening to this session?
Oh yes. Once you reach the Ajapa state, then any activity is not going to trouble you. That's why in Gita it says, Pashyam, Shanvan, Sprishan, Jigran, Unmishan, Nimishan Napi, Indriyani, Indriyarteshu, Partanta iti dharayan. So he says, a Jnana Yogi does not care at all. His all 5 senses are active. Even though they are all active, his mind, why it is active? He understands that the sense organs are active with regard to the sense objects. So if you bring a flower, the nose takes a beautiful smell. It's a very fragrant. The nose only. What he knows at that time, he says, he thinks that a nose has got this nature to smell. So nose is doing its job. I am not doing that. He is cut off from that I-ness. So that is the Jnana Yogi does that. My Atman is not affected. At that time, the japa can definitely go. Even while listening to me, you have some spaces, some say seconds, spaces are there while I'm talking. Definitely, if you are aware of that, the japa state you have reached, then you can clearly visualize that yes, japa is going on.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Next.
Maharaj, at that time, attention may be diverted. So while I am listening, attending any session, and at
Yes,
that
yes, that is, you are correct. Attention will be diverted only when you are doing conscious japa. When ajapa stage has come, then attention going out or not is not a problem at all.
Pranam Maharaj, just on the very same point of Ajapa Japa, just wanted to know whether that also comes under Ajapa Japa category, like when you are, say, thinking of something and then you realize maybe you are worried about something or whatever and you are thinking on that topic which is worrying you, and then suddenly you realize that you were already taking your, doing your japa, and you just realize that while I was thinking about the problem, I was also doing the japa. But would that not be more that unconsciously you're praying rather than ajapa japa?
Where is the prayer comes? You are thinking about the problem, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
At that time,
you're trying to look up for a solution in your mind, and then you realize that you're also doing your japa.
Correct. This happens. See, when you go to temples, what happens? We stand before the deity and put our hands together and then we pray. Now, from the entrance of the temple to the nearest to the Garbhagriha, when you come to the sanctum you come, you are walking, is it not? Your mind is not praying at the time. is only doing japa. Only doing japa, you are walking inside the temple. And when you enter the temple, when you stand before the deity, at that time you offer your prayer. So since you have been doing japa, even when you are doing prayer for a solution to some problem that is worrying you, the japa is going on in the mind. So in order to make the mind without your intentional will, then you have to practice japa in other times a lot and lot and lot. Like the 20,000 per day. Then you reach that ajapa state. Then you have got no worry at all. Whatever you are doing in this world, the japa will be going on. And you are not making any counting. That also you remember. But no counting. So number is not a problem.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Maharaj, in the Kathamrita, it was there that the Thakur told, if you have a toothache and but still you are doing the household work, so the toothache is there, so it's already reminding in your back that toothache is there, but still you are doing your work. So it's japa should go on like that.
That is called ajapa. That stage is called. Correct. A good example by Sri Ramakrishna. It's very beautiful. Thank you for adding this idea.
Java Chatterjee, is it? She would like to say something. She has raised her hand since quite a while.
Pranam Maharaj.
Namaste Japa, yes.
My question is Manasa Japa. Can you one example just now we heard, but anyhow, if I tried like that Manasa Japa, it's coming to my mouth only. Like, can you give some example of that? And the second question is that anyhow we'll do the japa, but anyhow we're connecting to the Thakur while doing the japa. So anyhow it is a connection and creating a love towards Thakur. That is it also one of the way towards going towards the God or going towards the creation of love towards God?
Okay, thank you, Japa. The first question, she wanted to know about Manasika Japa. See, Manasika Japa, what happens is, the lack of training in doing Japa one-pointed mind, the lack of training, then what happens is, Manasika Japa does not become successful. Most of us forget this basic point. When we do Manasika Japa, we think, okay, I am not telling by mouth and I am not even doing Upanshu. So Manasika Japa I am doing, so I have become perfect in doing Japa. No. The Manasika Japa does not lead you to success, because in your mouth, if you have noticed, your tongue is still moving. If you do Manasika Japa, and see at that time what happens to you. You have to watch yourself. Spend some 10 minutes and watch yourself. When you do Manasika Japa, in your mind you are pronouncing the Japa mantra, is it not? At that time, your tongue is moving. Without the tongue movement, you cannot stop the doing Japa, and tongue movement does not or cannot be called Manasika Japa, even though your lips are closed. Externally, lips are closed. I think you are doing Manasika Japa, but you are not actually doing Manasika Japa. Why? The tongue is moving. So how to stop the movement of tongue when you are doing Manasika Japa is a big problem. So Swami Shivapadananji in South Africa, he designed a method. What method he designed? He said, before doing Manasika Japa, 10 minutes, you do Likhita Japa, he said. Likhita Japa means what? You are writing the Japa in a notebook. Say, and then you write, say, Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramakrishnaaya. So this one I am writing down in a notebook 10 minutes. While writing, my tongue will be moving and I can fix my mind on the tongue and ask it, no, don't move, stop. Like that I can tell it. By that way, by Likhita Japa way, one is able to get control over the tongue and the tongue stops, and then your japa continues, then it is called manasika japa. Merely closing the mouth does not say anything. So we used to practice this in South Africa when the japa is Antaryogam retreat, as we call it, spiritual retreat. We have 10 minutes likita japa, writing japa is given. Everyone bring their notebook and you write down your japa. The mantra has to be written down. So this is a practice in our house. When in young days, I remember our father used to say, every day you write one page, Sri Rama Jayam. So we used to write down. At that time I didn't understand why this writing is required. But later I understand the writing is required so the tongue doesn't move. If the tongue moves, it means it is unverbal vachik. Understand? Unverbal vachik. Vachik means it is verbal. But I am putting it in this way. It is unverbal because you have closed your mouth. But it is still a vachik japa only. It is not manasik japa.
Maharaj,
Yes.
I'm just relating to this question for now. So when you say verbal, so okay, verbal is not coming from my mouth, but mentally I'm verbalizing. How do I stop it, Maharaj?
No, mentally.
Mentally I'm verbalizing. So instead of staying in my mouth, because you
Yes.
eat, and it's, even though my tongue etc. is not moving, but I'm verbalizing, you know?
No, when you are mentally doing, when the tongue doesn't act, then it is called manasika japa. That is the highest form of japa, Vivekananda says.
So for example, in the screen, it's here like imported from Firefox, right? I'm looking at it, but I'm also like pronouncing it inside, but not
Yes.
moving my. So is that manasika? No.
It is not manasika japa stage is that stage where your external organs cease to function. Your eyes stops, your ears stop hearing, eyes stop seeing, ears stop listening, and hands stop movement. So all those things have to be, the external 5 organs have to stop. Then only the mind goes inside, and when mind goes inside, then only manasika japa stage comes. But what we are doing now, even as you said, you are doing Firefox, okay, and then your mind is doing japa, doesn't matter. That means a practice is being done by you. So the practice is always welcome.
No, Maharaj, my question was not distraction. My question was, say, Om Maharajaya Nama, right? This is my mantra, and I'm reciting, but I'm internally I'm verbalizing. So instead of saying from my mouth, you know, one thing is you read and everything is in mind, and the
Yes.
thing is constantly, because what happens, say for example, some vibration comes. My mental vibration, what should I say? I'm not
Yes.
saying, but this vibration distracts the other one. And so
Yes.
therefore,
Yes, Malay. Then the thing is, I will put a question to you in that case. Is the japa performance, is it willfully done, or it is automatically done?
yes, Maharaj, willfully done.
If it is willfully done, it is not manasika.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Juba, next.
Maharaj, Prithvish, again one question. So, I always we always heard about these mantras that we have, like the Bij mantras, the Oms, etc. They are very powerful. Chanting them gives a special vibration which impacts us positively. So chanting our mantra aloud, will it not give a positive vibration also, and then chanting it silently?
Oh, very good question. Yes, that's very beautiful. Because the mantra, if you say it creates vibrations, then why not say it loudly? And why manasika should be considered as the highest form of japa doing instead of vachika? That is your question.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Mantras, you see, the vibration are of 2 types. One is physical energy, and second is mental energy or spiritual energy. What is mantra? Mantra is nothing but the personification of the deity's qualities put in a syllables in the form of aksharas. Is a ka, ga, ba, ba. All these things are aksharas. Even if you say Ramaya Namaha, Ra, Ma, Ya, and Na, Maha, these are all like Om Namah Shivaya, Na, Ma, Shivaya. These are all syllables. These syllables, each syllable has resonating capacity with the deity. So when I doing Om Namah Shivaya, Shiva's vibrations are attacking me, or it is having impact on my two stages. One is physical energy, one is spiritual energy. But I am united with him only in spiritual energy, not in physical energy. So when you go to Kashi, you find that Shiva's influence is so much that physical energy you can feel. That means what? It has got an impact on the physical level, and one is spiritual level. So which one is superior in that case? A spiritual energy impacting on your spiritual vibrations is better than the physical. Physical is okay. It helps you. That's why in temples, etc., when you go, they chant Shiva Mahimana Stotra. Why they chant loudly? We do that just now before the starting of the class. Malavika chanted this Vedic chanting, Shanti Mantra. Why should she chant loudly? Because it creates a vibration which affects us physically. But the vibrations of resonating the deity whom I am worshipping should affect me or should impact upon me spiritually also. That's why Manasika Japa helps in that.
Okay.
Monica Dalal, you have a question?
Yes, Maharajji. What I have noticed is when I do my japa, I try to control the movement of my tongue, but I seem to be at that time. My breathing comes in rhythm. In the rhythm, I am repeating the japa in my mind. So what do I call that? Is it really a Manasika Japa, or does it still become a Vachik Japa?
No, I told you Manasika Japa definition is no tongue movement. If tongue moves, it is Vachika, but it is unverbal. You are not verbalizing it, that's all.
And Maharajji, can we call Japa also a form of prayer? Can't we call Japa also a form of prayer? Because we are taking the name of the Lord.
Yes. If you take the meaning of prayer as something yachana, something asking for, then Japa is not a prayer. If you understand, if you ask something, I go to God, as Naren went to Mother Bhavatarini in the temple. What did he ask? Kali, he said, give me vairagya, give me knowledge. Like that he asked. So asking that is not Japa. So if you don't ask anything, you only do the Japa. If any deity, you go there to your temple, go to your Shiva temple and sit there and do only Japa without asking anything. Yes, that is also can be taken as a prayer if you do not ask anything. But if you have the meaning of Japa as a asking prayer, then it is not equivalent.
Thank you, Maharajji.
Rani Vasu?
Pranam Maharaj. I was just wondering, in Sushupti, mind is not working. So, in that case, also Ajapa Jap goes?
No. In Sushupti, you are asking?
Yes. Ajapa Jap.
Yes, Ajapa Jap. At that time?
Whether Ajapa Jap is still going on during Sushupti Kal also?
Yes.
So, that is my question.
It is Sushupti Kale, the Ajapa Japa is going on. That means it is Manasika.
No, Maharaj, I am not asking about Manasika. I am asking about Ajapa Jap. So, Ajapa Jap means you told that after waking up from the sleep, if still that mantra is going on in our head, then we can think that we have reached, that is a ajapa jap.
Okay. That means ajapa japa is going on within you.
Yes. So my question is
time.
So my question is, so this ajapa jap, so whether it is still, it was going on when I was in Sushupti.
Yes. That's why you are able to remember when you wake up. Otherwise you would not have waked. You would have woken up with something, some other thought you would have come. No other thought came, and only the mantra was coming when you wake up, shows that this ajapa japa was going on when you are having dream, when you are not having dream also. Yes. Correct.
Sridevi Raja.
Pranams Maharaj. A couple of observations. Today in our Gita class, we just learned Sthita Prayatnyasa Lakshana, and I was just trying to relate. You said Shivananda Ji Maharaj went into, he became indrawn. So, we just learned today, Tani Sarvani Samyamya Yukta Asita Matpara. Everything like a turtle, everything he pulled inside, and then, and focused on Matpara, on the Lord. So,
Yes.
I could clearly see, the sloka's meaning in what he did.
Yes, in Shivananda's life. Exactly.
Yes.
They were Pragyasum. Shivananda
Yes.
was yes.
Yes.
Right.
And secondly, one thing I wanted to share with you, in Botswana, one person who used to chant Vishnu Sahasranamam every day, had an accident, and then when he was taken, he was fully unconscious. When he was taken to the hospital also, he was chanting Vishnu Sahasranamam aloud. Maybe, he must have imbibed that, but he finally passed away. The thing is, even when he was unconscious, he was chanting Vishnu Sahasranamam. So maybe the mantra had gone into his subconscious. Yes.
Correct. When we see many such cases in the Seva Pratishthan, I was there with the medical cases. So I have seen some of the people who are unconsciously brought into the ward. Suddenly they start telling something. What they are telling, we cannot know. Only the closest relatives, they have to hear them properly, and then they understand, oh, he is telling something. That means the mind is full of that idea, what he was telling.
Yes,
So
Maharaj.
even though, yes, that happens. So this person is very, very blessed man who could repeat Vishnu Sahasranamam even though he was brought in accident.
Yes.
That's a great, yes. That means how much insight that Vishnu Sahasranam has gone into his mind.
Yes. So maybe Ajapa means, that has to be imbibed into your subconscious mind.
Subconscious, also it works. Yes.
Yes.
Same. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. Jyoti Rekha Premraj, you have a question?
Jyoti Rekha is from Durban. Yes, Jyoti Rekha.
Pranams Maharaj. I just have two questions. The first one is, how long would it take ordinary people like us to achieve the state of Ajapa Japa? And the second question is, when we do achieve that state, at the time of death, does it mean that we would have the divine name on our mind, irrespective of what we're doing? And would that mean our thoughts would, of the Ajapa Japa, if it's on our mind, will it determine our next birth, or how does it work, Maharaj?
Thank you, Jyoti. Yes, this is a very good question you asked. The question reminds me of another question. I get into the train, okay, from our Jolarpet station. When I will reach Bangalore, it depends on many factors. What are the factors? First is speed of the train. If it goes on 30 kilometer speed, that time taken will be differing definitely if it goes on 120 kilometer speed. So when we will attain this stage of Ajapa Japa is very difficult to say, because it differs from person to person to person. If you are very serious and sincere, and put all your mind in getting your mind indrawn, then it is very easy. It can be done with it. Or like if it is not possible at all, like Arjuna, you have to say it is not possible. So that also happens to people. So when is a question, that is a moot question, it cannot be answered by anybody from outside. So every person has to decide when he has to attain. So now your second question is that during the time of, or at the time of death, when the Sukshma Sharira, or which you call in English soul, leaves the body, at that time, will you remember the God's name? Many people cannot remember because the Ajapa Japa stage has not been reached. If while performing the Japa, your mind reaches the Ajapa Japa state, even at the time of death, the Lord's name will come. Otherwise it won't come. So, Antakale, it says Antakale, at the time of death, if you can think of me, you come to me, Sri Krishna says. Where is Abhishanda? She is expert in Gita. Yes, can you tell me? Antakale?
No, Maharaj, I don't remember that.
Okay. So, you see, so the Krishna says this clearly, that one has to have it continuously. Then only do you remember at the time of death. Otherwise, at the time of death, what we will remember? We will remember all our attachment things. Whatever we are attached to, those things only will come to. Lord's glory will not come. Next.
Thank you, Maharaj. Nandini Ravi.
Namaste, Maharaj.
Namaste.
I just want to share one thing regarding
Yes.
this.
Please.
There is one Alvar Pasuram saying, Appode kippode solli varte Narayana in Namame, which means that while deathbed, I don't know if I will be able to remember you, so I'll tell you now it's.
Now it's yes. Thank you. It's very beautiful.
And,
Yes.
my question is, Maharaj, regarding this Ajapa Japa, is it temporary or permanent? Like one day it comes, one day it goes. Does it have anything related to the mind, anything like that? And also, do we really have to focus on whether we are going into Ajapa Japa? Because sometimes I used to get up in the morning, oh, today I'm not remembering like that and all. So that kind of state, is it necessary? So I just left it off. Like this is not going to help us.
Yes. So, yes, the Ajapa Japa stage, there are stages of Ajapa Japa. So, initial stage we get and then we lose connection and then we get, it is like a network connections, it comes and goes. Like that it goes on. And once we get a permanent network connection, then it is called that Ajapa Japa stage stays. Not necessarily it will stay all the time. Because something more important than doing japa occupies our mind. For instance, just for example I'm telling you. At that time, will the Ajapa Japa will be there? No, it will be disconnected. That means it is weak. So as you strengthen it again and again, it will become stabilized at one stage. And that stage is only called Ajapa Japa, not otherwise. Otherwise, you can't use the term Ajapa Japa. When it gets stabilized only, you can use. So that is the answer for that.
Indrani.
Pranam Maharaj.
Yes, Indrani.
Maharaj, so I also had the same question. Considering how difficult it is to reach this Ajapa Japa stage, Maharaj, what also we know that it's widely, it would be different for different devotees, but still for an ordinary devotee like me, for instance, Maharaj, what would be your recommendation? Like, how many japas should we aim for daily? How many should...
See, it's an ordinary devotee like me, like that you say, you are not an ordinary devotee. So, we are nobody, no devotee is ordinary. They have come out from that. Who is an ordinary devotee? Who only thinks about his body and body requirements and goes to God. That is the ordinary devotee. But we all have come out from that stage. So we are not ordinary anymore devotees. But what we do is, when your question is, say it again.
Maharaj, like you said in that japa yagya, 20,000 japas were required, a devotee was required to do. How much should we aim at on a daily basis?
Yes, to get a japa how many times? As you said initially, it differs from person to person. In spite of that, one has to continue the japa at all the time. Try to continue. That means the trial will be going on and going on. So this can come only when we go into interior, mentally interior, that then only it can come. That's why this Ramakrishna Mission in India organizes this Japa Yajna. It was a wonderful idea, and this Japa Yajna idea is given to devotees and also Swamis. So 20,000 times, 5 days without disturbance you do. Like that they are allowing us. So that itself is a great opportunity for us. So like that opportunities we have to increase every day, and then only we can go. But if you ask me how many times or how many days, well, I have no answer for
that. Vimokshananda?
Yes, Maharaj. I just wanted to share something about this. My father used to do constant japa. Whenever he is not speaking to someone, he used to do his japa. And once he faced an accident, and he had an acute amnesia, and he forgot everything, including me and my mother. He couldn't recognize. But when I went to see him in the hospital, his hands were moving like he was doing the japa. I don't know that whether he was doing it or his hands were moving in an instinct or something like that. But I remember this incident. It was many years back. I was in class 8 when it happened. But I remember this incident when this discussion was going on.
Yes, a very good observation that you have done of your father. You see, when he was doing japa, he must be using his fingers. He must be go on counting. May not be keeping the count, but the 108 count he may be keeping. So that has become a long practice with him. Now we say unconscious, because outside organs and the external organs are not working. So we call it unconscious, but it's not so exactly. Inside mind is there. Mind is working fully well. And if mind has been doing japa, and that is connected to the physical hands, so the hands will automatically move. I have seen with many swamis also. The apparently is unconscious. Like that I have seen swamis in our Belur Math. And then they are not unconscious, but unconscious apparently. But they cannot speak. If you ask them, if you shake them, they cannot say anything. But their hands are moving on. Sometimes even with the mala, it is going on. So, but they are not able to hear you, they are not able to talk, their eyes are closed, but the mala is continuously going on. That type of sadhus I have seen. So the japa goes very deeply rooted into the mind. That means at the time of death, naturally, he would be thinking of Lord only, definitely.
Malavika. So, you have time?
জিজ্ঞেস করবো? Maharaj, you have seen revered Swami Vivekanandaji very closely, and you and many others say that he was well-known sadhu who was considered to be siddha in japa. And in many stories told about him, I have heard that he kept on continuing his beats. And was it just his style or the practice? Because as you said that the deeper sadhakas gets into the japa and all these things, everything happens inside manasik and all these things. But the external expression, is it just by habit? Because you have seen him so closely, I'm just asking out of...
Yes, thank you. Because that was a great sadhu, one of the great sadhus I have met, Swami Geetanandaji Maharaj. He became vice president. He has given initiated also many people. And Geetanandaji was called by our sadhus as a japak sadhu. He was always doing japa. Whenever you enter his room, he had a mala in his hand and he used to be telling the beads. So telling the beads was his, from the ancient time, from when he was a brahmachari time, he used to do. So that has been noticed by many people. And he would close his eyes and then start doing japa. Even before 10 people are sitting together, if he is not interested in that discussion, he will close his eyes and he would try to go inside. So that Geetanandaji Maharaj has seen. So see this repeating, telling the beads with mentally repeating the japa has got great connection. So even when body consciousness is withdrawn, the body actions can continue by the mind. Because the mind is nothing but it is all pervasive of the body. Mind is not somewhere staying outside of our body. It is within our body only. And it is without also. But within our body, where it is spread all over the body. So the mind can induce that type of unconscious activity. Our numerologists can say, and many numerologists, they say that the body can act on its own way. Otherwise, how do you explain the person, external organs are completely absent, but still he is able to do certain things? That is because of that. So the mind is still having control over the body and it represents. It doesn't come to the level of vachika. So the sound may not come or he may not be able to see. But the telling the beads will continue. Yes, it is possible.
Mola, you had raised your hand. You have a question?
Yeah, Maharaj, only if you have time, because I think it's already 20 past. Otherwise, we'll leave it later. No problem.
Okay.
No problem.
If there is nothing, then can come to a close.
Okay.
May I? Maharaji, pranam, Shangmitra.
Yes. Shangmitra.
Just,
yes.
I'll not take much time. Just I am adding that from Belagavi, and they are also doing this Japa Yagna. During Corona time, they used to do through online also for 3 days. They used to do and make the routine, give us the routine, and we can do it.
Yes. The Belgaum is the first center. Belgaum is the first center to start Japa Yagna. So, yes, so they have the specialized in that Japa Yagna system. So they are
for 3 days, we used to feel like Maharaji, we went there through online whole day.
Yes. Yes. Very good. Thank you very much. That's a good experience you have. Wonderful.
Maharaj, I want to add something. Java here, Maharaj. Belgaum Japayaka first batch, I went, Maharaj. That was wonderful experience, Maharaj. That is can't be shared with only by talking. Actually, it is wonderful. And regarding that example, everybody is telling, ma'am, Maharaj, Sudhiradi's incident I just want to brought here. Sudhiradi, when she is returning, I think she had a last time accident. But after once accident also, the train accident also, she continues her japa. 3 days she stayed there. She continues doing her japa. She has not unconscious, but she consciously she is doing her japa in last days of her life. Actually, I'm just telling.
Yes, correct.
So, Thank you that Yapayuka's experience everything, Maharaj.
These examples, give us great courage and great encouragement. So that is how I see these incidents. Thank you very much for joining us today with me, and I take leave of all of you. It's Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. And Durga Durga to everyone. May you all enjoy the Durga Puja.
Pranam Maharaj.
Pranam Maharaj.
Thank you.
Thank you.